welcome to
Hang out.
Yeah,
I sent an
yeah.
email, I'm in the building. Go here and sit on these.
I think Claire's was coming too.
Sometimes you go in here, people are just conked out. Just sit like, paying your salary, here's up here.
And even better,
Sure.
restaurant.
Test, 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 test. Oh, can you keep it on? Oh.
I mean, well,
Test, test, test. Is it on? Test, 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 test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Everyone's levels still good? Great, thanks.
the floor, face south, just a wall of wind, just wake you up early before everybody got there. Beautiful view of the mountains. And that was good. Man, I thought I could get away with it, I just live here. Oh, I know, it's sweet. I know, it's
Random shop.
That works, okay. So I did have a hat. So that was, I guess that's fine. I don't remember having one.
Where's your favorite coffee? My favorite place downtown.
I said,
I work.
then the apartment moved into. That's why I use it when I went to the
Watch that right there.
We'll talk more about Eric later.
Oh, shh.
You want to be up here.
I gotta be close enough to grab some.
That's right.
Tell them to stop talking.
Exactly.
I actually heard about a scooter accident on the scanner yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, watch
young
that right
female
there.
supposedly.
Kendra, the mic's on? Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Thank you all for being here 2 times in 1 week. This wasn't planned. Chief Thomas and I have statements related to the allegations of misconduct by certain police department officers. An investigation by KPD's Internal Affairs Unit is underway, and neither the chief nor I can talk today about the specific allegations pending the completion of that review. Y'all understand that, I know. Once the investigation is complete, the findings will be public record, and we will be able to discuss the matter more freely. As the mayor of this city, I find the alleged behavior serious and deeply troubling. I lead a 1,600-person workforce, including a 377-person police department, who strive every day to protect and improve the lives of those who live here. As the first woman mayor of this city and with the first woman police chief, our goal has been to create opportunity for all people in our city and in our workforce, regardless of gender, race, faith, sexual orientation, and ability. It is never appropriate in our workplace for lewd, derogatory, discriminatory, sexist, or homophobic statements or actions. This type of alleged misconduct particularly offends and pains me because we have so many outstanding officers who every day demonstrate genuine respect for their fellow officers and the citizens they serve. I've been mayor for 7.5 years, and there are so many good officers on our streets. I see them all the time. We give them awards regularly for the great work that they do. These are officers who raise the bar, lead by example, and exceed the standards set by us as a community and KPD as a professional agency. So I want to clearly state my support for our police department, for our police officers and the tremendous job they do. But when individual officers act inappropriately, as there are allegations here, they have been and will be held accountable. There are consequences for inappropriate behavior. I am relying upon KPD's Internal Affairs Unit and Chief Thomas to properly investigate the allegations that have been made and to take whatever action is fair and appropriate. Nevertheless, based on what we have heard and seen thus far, it is clear that we must and we will reinforce with every single member of our team their constant obligation to meet and uphold the values and standards of this police department and of our city. I'll now call on Chief Thomas for a statement.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the kind statements. I want to first express that we take these allegations very seriously. These are concerning claims that are now a part of an internal affairs investigation, and we will deal with the findings upon completion of the investigation. I want to impress upon the Knoxville community that the comments alleged to have been made as part of these allegations are not in any way reflective of who the Knoxville Police Department is or who we want to be. We value diversity in our department, and how that diversity is reflected with the community, we proudly support. I've been with the KPD for 26 years. I'm incredibly proud of the culture that we have nurtured in those 26 years. These allegations are not indicative of the department that I have served for nearly 3 decades. Allegations of this nature simply will not be tolerated. They erode the good reputation of our department and that we have worked diligently to build and diminish all the good deeds that our officers do in the community every single day. With that, we recognize that as a department, we are not perfect. We are human, and we are going to make mistakes. We also want to be clear that behavior alleged such as this is not acceptable, and we will act with swiftness to confront these issues. Our officers receive extensive diversity training over the course of their career in the KPD, and they are encouraged to report any individual who threatens to undermine the good standing of our officers that have built the diversity we value so highly in our department and our community. Our officers are provided many avenues to address these issues within and outside their chain of command. We provide those avenues because as a department, we are deeply committed to acting with integrity, kindness, and empathy. In spite of that, issues still arise. And while one incident cannot define a whole city or department, we have a responsibility and opportunity to deal with those issues in a meaningful way. We will begin immediately to improve and enhance training that we provide for both our officers and our supervisors. The Knoxville Police Department continues to evolve and grow as a department to best meet the needs of our city and its residents. No matter how effective an officer is at his or her job, the type of behavior brought to light with these allegations will not be tolerated. It is our duty to assess the role of leadership within our department so that those leading can continue to cultivate an environment that is unyielding in its inclusiveness and professionalism. I'm going to now open the floor for questions, but before we start, I've got to note that these allegations are part of an internal affairs investigation. So I'm limited in what I can talk about until that investigation is resolved, and at that time it'll become public record.
Chief Thomas, as a woman leading this department, these comments were especially geared towards women and behaviors against women. I wonder if you have heard comments like this before in the 26 years you've been at the department, and if so, what you would have to say.
I have absolutely never heard comments like these before. It hurt me as an individual and as the supervisor to that sergeant. But no, I have not ever dealt with comments like that in my career.
When were you made aware of the comments in the complaint?
Those specific comments, we received an anonymous complaint on June 20th that didn't have those specifics. But I think we were made aware of those specifics on or about June 23rd, 22nd, something like that.
And Chief, what was your response when you were made aware of those specifics? What did you think about them?
I was stunned. I was horrified. I was deeply embarrassed. And I was hurt. I was hurt. But we had already discussed opening an internal affairs investigation and how we would do that, even with the anonymous complaint. So that was already in the works. When we receive allegations, that's our first inclination is we need to stop the behavior and we need to open an investigation to find out what happened.
Chief, recognizing what you have said, in your opinion, does KPD have a culture problem?
I absolutely do not think that. I absolutely do not think we have a cultural problem.
Chief, we're talking a lot about the comments and the allegations of comments made, but it was also alleged that the complaint was not handled well by this person's superiors. Has that been an issue before? Is that something you're taking a look at going forward?
We are looking at that. We're looking at that as far as the training that we will offer for our supervisors, because if we did not handle that, and that's part of the investigation, so I can't comment on specifics, but we are looking at making sure that we are giving our supervisors all the avenues that they need as well and holding them accountable.
It seems like in the allegations that there was multiple instances of maybe minor things, minor comments made, and minor steps taken to address those comments that didn't get put on permanent records or weren't dealt with disciplinary action. Is that something that you plan to address, or a problem you've seen before?
I've not seen that before, and that'll be a part of the investigation. So once we have those results, we will deal with that.
Can you explain the normal chain of command? It looks like there was a breakdown on when the supervisor was called in, and then that supervisor didn't handle the situation correctly either. So kind of explain that chain of command and kind of what went wrong maybe in this situation.
Okay, I'm not going to address the situation. I can tell you what chain of command is. I mean, we have officer, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, deputy chief, and chief. That's our chain of command. With allegations of this nature, though, everyone is made aware they can go outside the chain of command. They can go to the park commission. They can go directly to civil service. So there are other avenues, even if they don't want to talk to someone in the police department. Everyone is made aware. Every officer is made aware.
And Chief, is there a threshold for an accusation so serious that it must be documented, or is it at the discretion of some of the supervisors?
Without having specifics, I can't comment on that. I'm sorry.
Chief, in the past we've talked about how difficult it is for KPD to recruit officers. Do you think something like this is just going to make that problem worse?
I'm afraid so. That's why I wanted to come out and make a statement today, though we don't normally do that with internal affairs investigations. We normally say what we said in the beginning. This is under investigation. We'll comment later. But I need to make it clear that this is not indicative of the men and women who proudly serve this community every day. And I don't want people to think it is and that we're hiding behind it.
Do you have an idea of what kinds of added training might be pursued by KPD?
You know, I want to build on what we already give, all those avenues that we already provide, and we go over our policies and procedures, but I'd like to build. I want to look outside the KPD for somebody to come in and see what else is out there. So I can't give you specifics, but we will build something new in addition to what we do have already.
Have you spoken, or did you speak to Lieutenant Brassfield after he filed his complaint?
I have not.
He
I take that
mentioned-
back. I saw him in roll call one day.
He mentioned in a roll call that you mentioned something.
Sorry.
Specific allegations.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I have a question. The Lieutenant Brassfield, and this is not going to be a specific, I just want where I'm coming from here. Lieutenant Brassfield was the supervisor, the immediate supervisor of Sergeant. And does the lieutenant have the authority to discipline a sergeant for bad conduct?
Absolutely.
Okay, and
I can't comment on specifics. Yeah, you were trying to get there. You're trying to get there, but you're being sneaky. I can't comment on that.
sneaky.
Yeah, sorry.
But a lieutenant has the authority to
Discipline the sergeant.
Discipline the sergeant.
Absolutely.
In this situation.
Yes, sir.
I can't ask any more questions. It was not done, apparently.
I'm not going to comment on it.
Chief, what's this like for you? You touched on this a little bit, but it wasn't too long ago we were covering certain crime numbers going down. And we've had a lot of good news coming
We
out
have.
of KPD overall. You're in your first year at the helm.
I'm in my second year. June 25th, yes.
Okay, all right. I mean, how is this for you personally? Is it a slap in the face? I mean, how would you compare it?
A slap in the face is good. It was devastating. It was the first time I actually saw that video was last night. It was horrific. It was just devastating to all we've built. So yeah, it was hurtful.
Are you able to comment how expansive this investigation is?
I can't. No, sorry.
I guess either Charles Swanson or yourself comment on what an investigation normally entails, the process by which it gets investigated and how it would conclude. Is that?
No, I can't. I mean,
I think we can tell you that an investigation will entail any allegation of a policy, any allegation of a violation of any policy of the Knoxville Police Department would be subject to investigation. So anything we've heard in this process that would amount to a violation of our policies or our standards would be subject to the investigation and be a part of the investigation. And hopefully we will get some answers as to what the facts are related to what's going on at the end of that investigation.
And that will then be publicized, whatever the investigation comes up.
It will become public record when the investigation is concluded.
With the exception of the abrupt retirement of the sergeant, has anything happened to any of the other people now under investigation? Anybody, their jobs changed? Anybody on leave? Anything like that?
I don't think we can really respond to that at this point.
Mayor, if I could ask you a question similar to a question I posed to Chief Thomas. As a female leader of the city, the first female leader of the city, Chief Thomas, the first female police chief, these comments again are very directed at and against women. Can you address that portion? I know how it made you feel and when you found out, and also when did you find out about these allegations?
I first found out when I was on vacation and got an email from Civil Service.
I think that's right.
You know, I think that's the first time I heard about it. I got an email from our Civil Service director that there had been allegations. I'm looking at him, I'm trying to remember, that there were allegations of misconduct. And so I believe I was either already on vacation or on my way out of town. I'd have to look back on my calendar, but, so that's when I first heard about it.
Specifically, when would that have been?
It would have been sometime around June 20 in that general
And then
area.
just a comment on, obviously you said it's not indicative of the city, it's not indicative
Right.
of the police department. Can you
Right.
further that and how it made you feel when you heard
Right.
and read those comments?
Without
So first of all,
referring to the
without
comments.
referring to the comments, okay. You know, we're in a time in our country, we're not the only department, we're not the only city, we're not the only organization that has faced this type of alleged behavior, right? And so we know it exists in the world. And we all know probably of circumstances in our own agencies where something might have happened. That doesn't make it right. It's still wrong. So it's very disappointing. It's very disturbing. It is offensive to that behavior such as that. So yeah, so I was offended by it. But you know, we live in the reality of this is what happens, and so we will take action. You know, I mean, I have a responsibility. The chief has a responsibility. Nobody wants to see this. I'm sure every man in this room also would not agree with those kind of comments and would find it offensive as well. So not just being a woman mayor, but being a decent human being. Anybody's a decent human being would not agree with statements that are alleged, those kind of statements that were alleged to have been made. So I think we all as a community, we all as a workforce, we all as a community have to stand up and say, this is not right, this is not appropriate. And so we make that statement at the same time, and we work to change that type of attitude. You know, it's how we raise our kids, right? Our sons and our daughters. It's how we raise our kids. It's our expectation when we talk in the community about what is appropriate and what isn't. You know, it's how we treat one another, and that's why we have, you know, a councilman's here, you know, as a city council and as a city administration, we have proactively talked about what our values are and how we embrace inclusiveness, and we have shown it by our actions, by our efforts, by our initiatives. And so that's all of our responsibility as a community to do. And so we work on that level to change that kind of an attitude where men feel it's the right thing to say that. We have to change that attitude. I said, in our own families to start with, among our friends, stand up when we hear it. So that's what we all are called to do in this circumstance. But also, we have rules, we have regulations, particularly in KPD, we hold them to very high standards. If you look at what their standards are. And so it is Chief Thomas's responsibility, and we will back her up, to hold our officers to those standards. Other questions?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. So those yours? Okay. Can I plug you?
I'm gonna let you all make. I'm gonna let you all go here without seeing them try. Unless you want to. Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. Oops. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, my friend,